Hello everyone, welcome back to another City Daily. My name is Emma, I'm an intern here at City Church, and today, as you can see, I am not alone for this City Daily. I have jumped on, oh now I'm alone. I have jumped on James and Jamie's bandwagon of just, I'm going to have a little chat. And when I was thinking about who to chat with today, I thought I really think that every single person can do well from sitting down and having a chat with my sister, Lou. And given that I can't give you all the chance to do that one-on-one, I thought, well, I'll have a chat with her and then you can all reap the rewards of her wisdom. So, introducing my sister, Lou Yates. Say hello, Lou.
Hello there.
Lou, the people of City Church do not know you yet. So, do you want to say, who you are, what you do, what your passions are? How are you spending lockdown? Tell us all about yourself.
Good. So I'm Emma's oldest sister. It's a big old gap there that she likes to remind me of on a fairly regular basis. I live in Manchester with my husband, Andy. And for my job, I'm a music therapist, which, as you can imagine, is a bit tricky at the moment because I can't be in the room with people. Which means that my lockdown life right now looks quite varied. I'm still working full-time, doing lots of different things, trying to help the music therapy charity that I work for reach people online. That's included some really fun, random things like making kids' activity music videos with the clangers. So right now we have a green screen in our flat that we set up once a week to make videos, but also trying to run sessions online, things like that. Maybe my job makes it obvious, but I'm really passionate about music and how it connects to our souls and hearts. And I guess in that sort of an overflow in my job, but really like the depths of that and the place that I discovered that is in worshiping Jesus through music. Much like well, maybe this is obvious, was raised in church, just grew up around that, and I think especially like spending time with our dad. We would he let me on worship team when I was like 10, or maybe 11. Like I was playing drums, which was my first instrument, and then I'd sort of spread out into other instruments when I realised I probably wasn't going to be a rock star.
Brilliant.
I can't remember the list of things that you gave me. Is that fine?
Yeah, I feel like you've covered that pretty well. Classic, our dad's the church leader, that we were all in the worship team around age 10. Didn't ever have to go to rehearsals, just got to be on the worship team.
Excuse me, Emma, you were the only one that didn't have to go to rehearsals. That's like youngest child syndrome.
Youngest.
Yeah, I was there every week.
Oh.
That sweaty drum booth.
I've just revealed my lack of commitment to the worship team at home. Oops. Great. Thanks, Lou. I'm sure everyone feels like they know you a bit better now. So, one of the things, I look up to my big sister a lot, have done my whole life. But one of the things that she has modelled incredibly well for me is what it looks like to be a worshipper. Not just on a stage leading worship, but living a life of being a worshipper. And so I thought it'd be really cool for us to just talk about worship, not necessarily in the sense of, like on a Sunday morning, but what it looks like for worship to kind of invade our whole lives, which is a big topic. I feel like if we don't restrict ourselves, we could both talk about this for days and days. So we'll have to time ourselves. But I think, one of the things you've modelled really well for me is what it looks like to live life as a worshipper. So I guess a question for you would be what does it look like for worship to invade our whole lives? How can it permeate every part of who we are, not just kind of our planned worship times?
Um, I think maybe first we probably need to define worship a little bit. And I'd, as much as it's true, I hate that like worship isn't singing; it's a lifestyle thing. Maybe just as someone who's grown up in church, that feels so like overused and cliched. But at the same time, I do have to see worship as my, I guess, as my lived out moment by moment devotion to Jesus, my choice to be associated with him, to align myself to him and to follow in his way. And in that, especially because my preferred means of expression is music, song worship is a sweet spot for me, but that's not the case for everyone. And I think like one of my soapboxes is to like help us understand as a church that that's okay. Singing is good. It is 100% something that we should do, and I believe in it with my whole heart, whether you consider yourself to be a singer or not, but it's not the whole story. And then I think it's really easy to get into the rhythm of like, it's just this thing that we do. It's part of a practice, and that can either be something that we really engage with in a very intentional way, or it can be a subconscious rhythm that we don't even realize is happening, particularly when we're talking about song worship and it being in church, within the like structures of the institution that is church and the things that are provided for us. But when it is, I think when my worship is rooted in an experience and realization of who Jesus is, the depths of his kindness and his love for me, that he is in everything, that he holds everything together, that it's not possible for a moment to go by and him not be present and not be sustaining us by his love and grace and mercy towards us. Like the more I can let myself go into that, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, this whole thing is about him, this whole thing is for him. And the more I know him as that, the more I see him and experience him as that, the more I'm led into wanting to express worship to him, wanting to give him more of myself, wanting to pour out the perfume in my jar, which is the breath and the life that I have, at his feet.
So I know that you kind of just expressed that, yeah, like worship doesn't have to look like sung worship, but I think something we're both quite passionate about is sung worship. And so I think I've been thinking a lot, especially in this season of like lockdown, about the importance of singing our own song as worship, and our response in worship kind of coming from the overflow of our hearts and where we're at, as opposed to kind of like, obviously other people's songs can be really helpful to us in leading us to Jesus. But yeah, I think I've just been thinking a lot around like the importance of singing our own song, based on like where we're at, what season we're in, not even just lockdown, but like on the peaks and the pits and everywhere in between. Don't know if you have any thoughts on that. That's not really a question, but if you've got some thoughts.
Yeah. So when you say singing your own song, you kind of mean like sing it out in your own words.
Yeah. You sounded just like Jen Johnson then.
The worship leaders are available. Yeah, so I think we all have unique stories and things going on, and while those things are in many ways universal and part of being human, they're also specific to the moment, and there's power in when we all sing the same thing together. And sort of as an aside, when we repeat songs and things, like there's a lot of power in that, but it's also really easy to become over familiar with lyrical content and to not really engage with it. Sometimes that's not I'm not placing a judgment value on that. It just can happen. But so I think there's something about expressing what is happening for you as a person individually in song that helps us be more present to the moment, and it also sort of calls on that God with us, Emmanuel, like Christ in me, the hope of glory, because the specific, when I externalize the specifics of my worship, or even the specifics of my lament, it calls on like Jesus, who is with me now in this present moment, who knows all of these things that are happening. And there's such a release in that, and I suppose like a personalization of my worship and my heart, which is one voice that gets added to many voices that makes this beautiful, beautiful thing. There's some practical things, because I think sometimes it's really hard to do that, especially if like you're not a songwriter, you're like, what, you want me to ad-lib my own song right now? Like, what, that feels like the most ridiculous ask. Like one of the things that I would say to my church community sometimes, I go to Vine Life Church, by the way, just in case you're wondering. One of the things that I would say is like, just if you feel distracted, just start singing that. So like you can start singing like, I feel really distracted today. There's a man with a funny hat on and it's turning my attention away. And
that rhymes. Congrats.
I know. It doesn't have to rhyme now. It does not have to rhyme. But there's something like, as soon as you start singing, like it just, once you activate that, once it starts coming out of your mouth, it's much easier to then like draw it back. Like it's like it's already out, so then you can sort of grab it and be like, no, okay, so now we're going to focus this on Jesus and who he is. And you know, so if the distraction is something that you're finding really difficult, sing the really difficult thing. Like it's okay to sing like, Jesus, I'm finding it hard to worship you, I'm finding it hard to give you my attention because this is weighing heavy on me. Catchy, I know. But that 100% is a valid part of your worship. Like the Psalms are rife with that. It's like, where even are you? Like this thing is happening to me and it's threatening my life. And that happens before praise, it happens before thanks. And so I think there's a real power in expressing that and it being your own. Now, and I guess maybe that speaks into the whole like peaks and pits element of it as well. Just being really honest in your song. But I do think like if you can be brave to sing it, just put some instrumental music on. Like if it helps to have some like background music. But like a really good thing to try is to just give yourself like put like a timer on your phone and just be like, okay, for 30 seconds I'm gonna be really brave, I'm gonna put this music on in the background and I'm just gonna like sing what's happening. Just see how it feels, see what happens. And I don't know about you, but I like the lockdown life, when you're not in a room with other people, like I find myself just watching worship services, like
for sure.
And on a bad day, like being judgy about them, like, or being like, oh, I wonder how they did that, or like that was great, or that mixing isn't very good. Like I repent, but it's true. But it's hard. It's on a screen. Our natural relationship with the screen is that it offers us something and we consume it. And it's also really awkward, like to just be in your living room, like singing along with someone who doesn't know you're singing along, who probably recorded it 4 days ago. Like it's an awkward thing, but maybe it doesn't look like singing along to the like formed like worship set, but I think to like start cultivating a practice of singing at home when there's not a band to like build and make you feel like, yeah, the bridge, woo, I feel so hyped and I'm singing loud. Nothing wrong with that. It's got a time and a place. But to cultivate singing into your life, of like sung worship, that helps you draw your attention to a life lived in devotion. is a really fun thing. And so like I would just like put out the challenge to everyone, like what, just like 30 seconds a day. I think you'll probably find like you want to carry on after 30 seconds, but even if you hate it, try 30 seconds a day for a week of just like singing your honesty to Jesus and see how it goes. And then let Emma know, and Emma will let me know.
Yeah.
I'll do it too. I'll do it.
Yeah, me too. We'll all do it. That's really cool. Thanks, Lou. Yeah.
But I also want to speak to the medium places, because we talk a lot in church and it's easy to like summarize like mountaintops, valley moments, but actually most of us spend most of our lives somewhere in between those two things. We spend a lot of our lives in the mundane and the rhythms and regularities of life, and while singing is like beautiful for both of those spaces, it's just also this like wonderful friend and accompaniment to the middle place, and it can do both of those things and help regulate and balance those two extremities when you're in the middle place. Like it can cause my like medium, just my quiet turning my attention towards him to just sit more deeply and in a more rooted space. Like it can call me to a more full and physical expression of worship. It can also call me more fully to a quiet place. So in all of those like medium places as well, it's not that you just save the singing for like, whoa, look at this view, I'm having the best time, or like, valleys. It's for the medium place. And I think the middle space in life gets not a bad rep, but it doesn't get a rep at all, because it's as humans we're instinctively drawn to the like highlight and low light reel, but like finding him in that space where everything's okay. Like I saw this quote this week, this is a bit of a rabbit trail, a friend of mine posted this quote, again I can't remember who it was, I'm so sorry, but it was about like how we pursue Jesus until we feel better, but that the point isn't just that we feel better, the point is that we become like him. And that it's really easy in those highlight low light reels to lean into worship, to lean into our relationship with Jesus. But then when things become a bit more normal, when we're like back on that medium middle, most of our life is spent here, beautiful, mundane, extraordinary path, we sort of let that fall off a little bit, because life is sustainable in and of ourselves, and we're not in great need or in cause of immense celebration, and so it sort of falls away and becomes this like side thing that we reserve for those moments. But actually, like, what would it look like for us to keep singing and keep worshipping and keep living a life of devotion really intentionally in that space, so that, like, I know for me the times where I've been doing that the most intentionally has meant that in either one of the extremities I've got like a depth of history to draw upon that I've been so grateful for, rather than just like I've got nowhere else to go, I don't really know what else to do, so I'll try this again. So like it's really the medium place where the deep well is dug. It's where intimacy is cultivated, and where like just getting to know our friend Jesus is found. Because it's hard to do that when you're like absolutely giddy with excitement about something that's happening, or where you're like struggling in the depths of despair and depression. So
yeah,
I'm all about that middle place.
That's so good. I feel like we could just keep talking on and on about this, I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like maybe we should draw this to a close, because this was meant to be a little 5-minute video, and we've definitely talked for longer than that, but it's been so good.
I feel like we should have planned to sing at the end of this.
Also
we should have put a song in.
I thought we should have had a little sing-song at the end. Get your keyboard out. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think takeaway from this little chat, we just encourage you all do the 30 seconds, you know, like be
Yes.
and yeah, I mean, probably don't contact Lou, can if you want, but I'd love to know how you find that, how it changes things for you.
And please say if it's awful.
Yeah.
If you're like, this was lame and I got absolutely nothing from it, as long as you went into it with an open attitude and heart, definitely tell Emma if it's like, actually it was really hard and made me feel sad.
Yeah, for sure. I want to know how you found it. Thanks so much, Lou. This was so fun.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you have now been introduced to my church family, because, you know, they're important to me and you're important to me. And even though you can't all physically meet right now, this has been nice. I've enjoyed it.
One day. Soon.
One day.
I will.
Just hoping.
Soon as is possible.
Yeah, exactly. Corona, please stop so that we can all be together again.
Did you just pray to Corona?
No. No, I was saying, like, please, Corona, stop. I wasn't praying to Corona.
I know.
This video is taking a real turn. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's been so great. Thanks, Louise. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow for another City Daily.